Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. This is Joe, the bearded historian. He'll tell you an interesting story. Be careful of his soldiers, they can be brats. This is Angel, she's an entity. She'll cause chaos and plant her hands at you. This is Sue, she likes spirits, not the alcohol. She's the reason this channel exists. This is David, he likes fire trucks. He's here occasionally. Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. We preserve his story. Morning. Ready? Here we go. Shout out time. It's a shout out just for you. You support me, so I support you. The shout out is for a friend. We're going to do. Spinning round. And we go. Okay, alright, as we go, places tour. Welcome. We go for walks in beautiful destinations to explore various fun things to do and unique places. Enjoy day walks, night walks, and exploring nature, sunset, and beach walks. Christine. Okay, so basically, they go places. Imagine that. I don't know why it would appeal to us. And speaking of places, going places, Joe and I had a wonderful idea. We thought it would be brilliant to go to Deadwood to do the Valentine's Day date early. Less crowded. We were wrong. Apparently it was Mardi Gras this weekend. So it wasn't as quiet as we thought it would be. But we did get to do this. What did you do for Valentine's Day date? I bet you it wasn't as unique as ours. Little steps, babes. You can't tell by the creaking, can you?
Together and make a circle out of it. You can see that last night they had a lot more folks, so we got a lot more chairs out. Be careful right here, step up.
Okay.
She wants us to be close so we can all talk. Yeah, we can all. Alright.
Oh.
My name is Chris. I'm your tour guide tonight. Feel free to ask any questions. That's the one nice thing about having a small group. You can throw any questions that won't necessarily be able to answer them, but maybe I can shed some light on Deadwood and some things other than this building. Are you all from the area, or where are you from?
Gillette.
Yeah. Gillette. Okay.
Rapid.
Okay. So you didn't have to travel too far to get here. Okay,
No.
good. Have you been on this ghost tour before?
No.
Okay.
We've missed this one several times.
Oh, wow. You've been on this one? How many years ago? Long time. So it would have been Mr. Russo, maybe who did it, Ron Russo?
A young gentleman.
Oh, he wasn't young. This guy's old. So okay.
He was younger, dark hair.
Oh no, that wouldn't be. I don't know who that
I
would
think I
have
was
been.
like 15 and I'm 23 now. So.
Yeah. Who knows who would have been doing it at that point? Well, the reason I ask is that Mr. Russo is the one who actually had most of the experiences in this building, and he's the one who trained me. So something I like to know if people have heard Ron's stories before, then I could try to expand a little bit. But we're going to kind of start with the beginning of Deadwood. As you all know, it became a community in 1876, and it's because gold was discovered here. It was first discovered in Custer, but the deposits were not very big at all. And within a few months, they determined that there were bigger, richer deposits up here. So everybody who had flooded to Custer came here. Now, you know from all the stories you've heard about gold rush towns, It was a really rough and tough environment. The people coming here were primarily male. Most all of them were single, or they had left their families behind. So now you're talking an environment in which you've got a lot of single males who are working really, really hard during the day in very difficult circumstances. They worried about claim jumpers. They worried about Indians. They came into town. They worried about highwaymen before they got here. They got here, and there were 3 primary industries, and everybody who was a proprietor of those industries wanted their money too. So everybody was out for their money. And of course, the businesses that are attracted to that sort of situation are saloons. So they had lots of drinking, gambling, and brothels. So this particular building was not here in 1876. It was built in 1898, but there were 3 structures in this spot before it, but they were pretty ramshackle, just wooden structures, and so 2 of them burned down, and I'm not sure what happened to the 3rd one. But they were honky-tonk, saloon, brothel kind of places from the very beginning. You can tell that this is a really substantial looking building. So, who would have put up this building, and what would the purpose be? It's called the Fairmont Hotel. Well, there were two gentlemen, Messrs. Berry and Carr, who decided that they were going to construct the finest hotel between Chicago and San Francisco. And so that anybody coming through here who wanted a really fine hotel, this would be it. Well, you can imagine they wouldn't have gotten a lot of business in that sense. I mean, how many people were traveling this particular route and going to stay in a fine hotel? Right. But as we go through, I'll show you some of the architectural features. This poor building has been very beat up, as you can tell. It's been used and misused. So, but there are still some remnants of its great past, you might say. So when they built it, and I'm going to show you a little announcement in the other room where it talks about the fact that the rooms were $1 a day, and what all or $1 a night, and what all the features were here. So in this building, if you go down those stairs that are on the main street, in the basement, they first had a barber shop. And then beyond that, there was a big pool.
Oh, wow.
It was a big Turkish bath. So the idea is you could come into town, you're all grubby and dirty, you'd go get a haircut, you could go have a bath. It even had like a plunge bath kind of thing. I mean, it was quite the structure for its day. Wow. And then behind it, there were dressing rooms. And then behind it were gambling rooms. In the corner of this building, if you go down those stairs, there's a jail cell, a holding cell.
Oh.
So what had happened very early on, have any of you seen the series Deadwood?
No.
Okay, I don't necessarily recommend it unless you want to have the sound off, because there are about 2, their vocabulary is 2 words that I will not repeat in polite company. So it's really rough in terms of its language, but what I like about the series, if you turn the volume down, is it really gives you a good idea of what it looked like here. The streets were mud. You had horses coming through, and stagecoaches and oxen pulling carts. I mean, you had and they were going in the street, and so it was really messy and mucky. And you had a lot of very poorly constructed structures. A lot of canvas tents, and then some wooden ones. This is in 1876. And then it got a little bit, as happens when people strike it rich, and then you bring in your grocer and maybe a banker and some of these other businesses and families come in, then it starts getting a little bit different. But the interesting thing about that jail cell down there and this building is right on the corner of what's called the Badlands. So that street right out there is called Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And it was the dividing street between the good part of town and the really rough, bad part of town. So the sheriff would not go into this part of town. So if anything egregious happened up in this area of town, people would drag the perpetrator to that jail cell, stick him in there, and then contact the sheriff. The sheriff didn't want anything to do with this area. And that went on.
Smart man.
Yeah, that went on for many, many years. At first, of course, when Deadwood was started, it was as lawless as you've heard, because there was truly no law here, because this was Indian territory. There had been a treaty, and people were not supposed to be here. This was sacred land to the Lakota Sioux, and it was supposed to be left that way. So there was no law for many, many years because of that. And then when there was law, it still the community had divided itself along those lines. So this area is the Badlands. So everything along here was, once you went into this area, it's like, okay, if you're stupid enough to go in there, nobody's going to help you. And,
you're on your own.
And you're definitely on your own. So when it seems strange to me that Mr. Carr and Barry put their building on this side of Wall Street, because it impacted what happened in this building too. So it was built in 1898, but by 1903 it had been renamed the European Hotel, and it was definitely a brothel.
Oh.
So we think that it was probably a brothel sooner than that. That's when it was documented. So I've described the first floor. So the basement. So from the basement you could go. There's a little tunnel right along here. So you could go down those steps along the tunnel and up these back stairs where we came up, or you could go through through the barber shop and the bath and changing rooms and whatever, and get back that way. Or you could just come right in the front door, and the first floor where the casino is now was the lobby. So it was a pretty big, spacious lobby, and that's the way they made it, because they thought it was going to be a grand hotel, right? So once you come up here, though, there were 7 bedrooms and a kind of a salon or living room in the front, which you'll see. That was on the second floor. Third floor, same thing, 7 rooms. You will see, you can't tell in here, but when we go into the rooms, you'll get some idea of what the size of the rooms were. These rooms had clawfoot tubs, and they had pull-string toilets. They were really state-of-the-art. When Carr and Barry put this thing up, they went all out. And when Ron purchased the property, and he purchased it in 1989, he actually said that he is the one who removed some of those things. I wish he hadn't. But he removed some of those things, but they were still functional at that point. And that Turkish bath was still downstairs. So it's too bad that some of those things weren't preserved. Right. The reason it looks like it does now, I can tell you of folks who had lived here in between. But what he did when he bought it, he wanted to make it into a fine hotel again. And he didn't know the history at that point. And so he was from New Jersey. Gambling was illegal in Deadwood until 1989. But prostitution was legal until 1980. So what happened is, when prostitution went out, then the city fathers, you might say, didn't know what they were going to do to keep the city going, the community going. And so at that point, since there was a history of gambling in this area, they requested that they got status like Las Vegas has, and like some of these other places, to have a casino. Well, Ron was from New Jersey, so Atlantic City, all of those casinos. He wanted to come here and make his mark in the community and make his money. So he was going to have his bar or casino, and he was thinking only in terms of having a fine hotel. So a lot of it being torn down is because of stuff he started to do, and then he never finished because of some of the experiences that he had here. So a few more things I want to tell you about the building and Ron, and then we'll start walking to the into the rooms. That doorway is a very important doorway. That connected a hall. There was a hall that went from this building all the way down the street, and it connected 11 brothels.
Wow.
So this was one, and then actually, very shortly after this was built, this attached building was built. When we go to the third floor, there's a door up there. You can't open that door, but if you open that door, you look down because that is not a 3-story building. That one is not. So they're sold together now, and Ron bought them together, and the current owner bought them together, but they're not. It's not one building. It's two separate buildings.
Interesting.
But that you could come in this building and walk all the way down and visit any brothel you wanted, or you could go into any of those other brothels, get up to this floor and walk over here. So it was just quite the den of iniquity. The other thing that happened, since gambling was illegal, gambling happened either in basements. Remember I mentioned that there was but behind the dressing rooms there were gambling rooms, or it happened up in the brothel rooms. It did not happen on the main floors because it was illegal. And so as soon as this became an actual territory and a state, then gambling was illegal and they had to be careful. Sorry, this building does this to me. It's dry and dusty. And I probably should have brought some water up. So if it gets bad, I'll run down and get some. But anyway, this building very quickly became a brothel, and they built and purchased that other building, and that was a brothel too. But that was kind of the low end district. You're going to see from these rooms that they're pretty good sized. We can't walk down in that area because there's a lot of the new owner has stuff all over down there, and they're doing some renovations. But you're welcome to, if you've got a flashlight, I've got one, but you use your phone, you can take pictures down there. You're going to see some kind of studs, and the areas are smaller. Basically, I describe that as having cribs. So that was not, that's kind of like the low rent district, you might say. So you came here and you paid pretty well, and you could spend more time, and there it wasn't so nice. While you're in this building, feel free to take any pictures you want. You can take them with or without flash. I'm going to show you some pictures that people have taken, and there's some amazing things that sometimes show up. Sometimes we can go for weeks and nothing happens, and then there are other times when the spirits that are still in this building decide to expose themselves a little bit. But it's always the luck of the draw. I'm going to tell you some stories about this building, and the stories actually came, believe it or not, a lot of them from the newspaper.
Wow.
So there was a newspaper that started in Deadwood in 1876, and a lot of the articles in the newspaper were about the Badlands, because that's all the interesting, sensational stuff, right? So a lot of these stories are documented. So Ron Russo bought it, and he was going to renovate it and make it into a hotel. And after a few years, he started having some experiences in the building. I will share some of those stories with you as we go into the various rooms. But he had reason to reach out to the paranormal investigative community and ask them if they were interested in coming here because of the experiences he had. So he had Amy Allen, Dead Files. She's done have you seen?
Oh yes, we've seen all of them.
Oh, this one? Okay, yeah. She had, he invited Ghost Adventures and Ghost.
Saw that one?
Yeah. Now the things that, I happen to be, we can talk about this later, but I happen to not so much like the theories that the guys from Ghost Adventures and Ghost Lab came up with. I like Amy Allen's way of looking at it, but Amy Allen would partner with a detective, and so what would happen when she goes to an area, she has, they have lots of equipment, so that they can pick up things that we can't with our normal senses. But in addition, the detective would then do a lot of research about the building and try to figure out how can we get the things that we're experiencing and hearing with our equipment, how can we get that to dovetail with what we know about the history. So a lot of what I have to tell you is from Amy Allen, because she and Ron Russo developed quite a friendship after that first experience that he had here. But he's the one who actually had started documenting and bringing folks in. So, but that was after he'd already started tearing things apart. And I
Of
know
course.
from talking to him, he regrets that. You know, he sold, you know, these clawfoot tubs and things for good money. It was supposed to help with the renovations, but in hindsight, he wishes that would not have happened.
Right.
So let me show you a few pictures here to get started.
I like Ushawi though. He's always fun to watch on that show.
Yeah. So this is the room that has been set up as a gambling room.
Hey guys.
And I think what's so funny about it when it was set up.
Freaking hate mannequins.
Notice he's got they made him the sheriff. But anyway, that's the stain. That's the blood stain.
That was definitely spattered.
Mm-hmm.
Couple drops there.
So this just is set up, like I said, just to show you that during the day, this is what it would do. And probably sometimes up into the evening too. Which this poor building is just, I mean, you can just see we've got, I don't know long term what the current owner is going to do, but I love, it was built at the end of the Victorian era, so you've got the high ceilings, the big windows.
Now, I gotta ask, have you found any, like, bullet holes or anything in the walls that were left?
Ron has evidence of it, and I will show that to you. Something happened in that last room, but it's the linoleum and the wallpaper that's in that room is more recent than when the event happened, so it would have been covered. So now, remember I said it had bathrooms? So see, this little thing would have been like the bathroom area. And I mean, I keep saying this, but I have no idea what the current owner is really going to do. He thought he was going to make it back into a hotel again, but Ron warned him that you're going to have trouble doing it because every time you try to do it, things happen in the building. It's like you can take stuff out of the building, you can demolish it, you can't really do much new stuff. So this is where the vortex was. This is a famous madam. Her name is Dora Dufran.
Yes.
And she actually was the wife of a local, I think he was a doctor. And he died, and as you know, back in the day, there wasn't insurance for families. So she had to figure out a way to keep her family. So she owned a brothel. She had a kind of a stable of girls that here in Deadwood, Lead, Sturgis, and Delphouche. So look, you can see she was quite the wealthy lady
First.
as she became a matron. This is the article I was telling you about. Fairmont Hotel, see, I said Barry and Carr were the proprietors. See this? Our rooms are the best in the city. Each is furnished with bath and toilet. Everything he can clean. Rates $1 and up. Our barber shop and bathrooms. Finest equipped and best managed in the city. Turkish bath or massage by experienced manipulators. Anyway, I just, yep. And see, at that point, it's the European Hotel and Saloon. But by this time, it's called the Mansion. This second building that's attached is called the Mansion, and the two together were called the Mansions. So it started out as the Fairmont Hotel, became the European Hotel, but then was known collectively as the Mansions. So that's what I do with my.
It's behind us.
Yeah.
You talking about the vortex? Another picture my mother got is she's holding her camera up, and an orb had come up and went right in front of her camera and completely wiped out the picture.
Wow. If
That's
she would
cool.
like to share, does she still have those pictures? If she'd
I
like to
think she
share
might be
some?
downstairs.
Huh?
It's not on her new phone.
Oh.
They're all on our old phones because again, this is
That's what the cloud is for.
Yeah,
Camera
that
just
is
took
what
a
it
photo
costs
all
for
by
now.
itself.
But it
Of course it did.
Yeah.
Because
So-
they like buttons.
Yes.
Yeah. story for this room. This is the room that would have had bullet holes in it, but like I said, that it's new wallpaper and new linoleum. Upstairs, they've got a sample of the original building linoleum. This is not. They put linoleum in these rooms when they were hotels in the past because you could clean them.
It's very easy to clean.
Yeah, yeah. So in this room, this is Benny Fowler's room. Her name is Benny Fowler, and she was one of the working girls. And a gentleman fell in love with her. His name is Vinegar Rowan. and Vinegar wanted her to leave the life and go away with him, and she wasn't interested. Who knows what the reason is? But he was downstairs in the saloon because at that point, the downstairs was a saloon. This is in 1907. And he was drinking heavily, and he was with a friend, and he jumped up from his seat, and he grabbed his gun, and he said, if I can't have her, no one can have her.
Ooh.
So he goes running up these stairs. He knows which room is hers. Remember, I said they were assigned a particular room, so he knew that she would be in there. He kicked in the door, came in, and he shot 3 times. One went into the wall, one went into the floor, and one hit this poor man by the name of Ed Moran, who happened to be with Benny that night. But they were standing, so Ed fell to the floor. Meanwhile, there's all this commotion, and Vinegar's friend was running up the stairs behind him. So Vinegar turned, so he's looking this way. He turned to see what was going on at the door. Benny then jumped on his back. Well, he still had the gun, so he had the gun in his hand, then he moved his hand back to shoot her, and she grabbed his arm and moved it, and he shot himself in the head.
Smart girl.
So now we've got, we have poor Ed on the floor, and we have Vinegar on the floor. Ed then jumped up because he was injured, but he wasn't killed.
Yeah.
And he went down the stairs as fast as he can. Now, what people have said is that, and Amy talked about this too, at least with Ron, when people report that when they're going up or down, they feel like somebody's rushing past them. And the thought is that's probably Ed trying to get out of the building. Well,
I bet so.
He lived for 1.5 years after that, and then he died. He succumbed to his injuries, and he died. So, and in the notice of his death indicated that he had died of complications. So yeah, it was complications of that original. Yeah. But back in the day, you either died of complications, suicide, or some sort of a disease. That's usually what they would put on the death certificate. So that's the story of Benny Fowler, and that happened in this room in 1907.
Interesting.
Let's go to the front. And again, if you want to lag behind and take pictures of anything, I know I have 5 of you. I'll make sure 5 of you get out of here. You should. It's a problem when we've got 40 some nights. It's like, oh my God. I'll have to go through here afterwards and say, is everybody out? Because I don't want to lock that door and have you in here. Kicked in. So you see, they're a pretty big size room, and so it was considered a pretty nice rock. Let's take a moment to look down here. I can smell that pizza. Yeah. I really want to be able to get down into this area again. I can.
I was gonna say, this is where my mom would get touched a lot.
Yeah,
We were able to walk down there.
and this is where the girl, the one-legged girl was too, over there. So, but you can just see that it's there. He's doing some sort of renovations, and I can't go down there. So, unfortunately. I want to show you some pictures here before we go into the main room. Oh, also, this to let you know, this is original furniture. When Ron purchased the building, he found some of these stuck in the basement. But we don't have any from Deadwood. But I find these fascinating. These are licenses for prostitution that the current owner found. So this one's from Arizona. Oh, what's they doing out there? There's Cripple Creek, Colorado. And then I think this is from Texas. Yeah, LaGrange, Texas. And LaGrange. Everybody's probably heard of LaGrange, Texas.
ZZ Top.
Yeah.
I heard it up on Cripple Creek too, but that was the band. That was before my time. So.
Yeah.
I think this was before your time.
Yes.
Actually, you talk about ZZ Top. I have a picture of my husband and my son, who would have been about 5 years old, in a bar in San Antonio, smoking. Well, not my son, but my husband and ZZ Top and Dusty Rhodes are smoking a cigar at the bar. I've got that picture. It's so.
In '94, I got to help pick their song list when they were at the Civic Center.
Yeah.
That night, I actually got the new bar, and I made like $175 in tips. It was a beautiful night.
I bet. But anyway, I love these. I love the fact that he got these. I think that's really cool because you look at the dates on these things, like 1881, and they had to have licenses back then. You know, you don't think of that.
How do you get a license to prostitute? Do you have to go to college to do that? I
What's
don't
the
know.
tax break on that?
So here's our little knowledge acknowledgement of Amy Allen and dead file. So this building, remember I said how it was supposed to be a fine building? Well, you'll notice it. They didn't have the architects, I guess, and designers to actually make this fancy, but you see they painted it in.
They're like, well, try to be fancy.
They paint a shelf and they put and when you look at this, it's got, the blue skies up there with clouds, and, it was supposed to be fancy.
Very generic fancy, but okay.
These windows, when Ron bought the building, he said they opened, but they were very rotten, and so he replaced them. He said it was pretty expensive to replace it with the curved
I bet they were.
glass, but he did replace it with the curved glass.
Replace the windows in the rotunda.
Oh yeah,
I took it going down that hallway.
yeah.
Wow.
Little boy. I don't know.
Right. Oh, nice.
Very nice. Good job. He's peeking out.
Yeah, he's just checking to see what the humans are
I was like, what are you people doing?
Now I want to point out this stained glass window because the one upstairs is the one we're going to talk about. But he actually, these were in bad shape, and he had those totally taken apart and reconstructed, and they're originals to the building. So there's some stuff that he kept that he was going to incorporate into his hotel, but unfortunately it never finished. So you've probably heard, you guys haven't seen Deadwood, but if you have, the Gem Saloon plays a prominent role because there's a man by the name of Ed Swearingen who controlled basically the Badlands, and Seth Bullock managed that part. So you'll notice the Bullock Hotel is on the good side of the street. It's on that side of Wall Street. So it's like that's why I guess maybe this was the available land at that point. But I do not know why the Misters Carey and Barr put it here, because
I was going to ask you, is Carr's last name spelled with 2 R's?
Carr.
Yeah, we passed the cemetery up by Hannah, actually.
Oh.
You almost missed it if you got that.
Now this stairway was put in 1925, and we're going to go up it. And if you look at it, it was code in 1925.
Was code.
In 1925, this was a hotel again, but it was like a by the hour hotel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you just want to take a little nap.
Yeah. How much for 8 hours? Well, you see.
Yeah.
What?
We don't do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go outside.
Try having 13 quad ECs.
Yeah, you're gonna have an interesting time with these stairs, baby. Oh, that railing is very wobbly. They must have had small feet back then.
Nobody has, we've had a few people say, yeah, I'll do it, because nobody's ever followed up with it. You can see again, this gives you some of the idea of the layers of wallpaper. So you got kind of the green, and then there's kind of green and beige, and then you've got the red. We're going to see in another room the same thing. Ron said there were, in one room, there were 26 different layers that he went through. Now, remember I told you about a bullet hole? I said to Ron, why, well, you didn't, and he said, I've got one upstairs too. So we went upstairs and he said, I said, well, but no, it's got a crack in it, so did they not fix it or whatever? He said, no, I told them not to do anything with that one because that's a bullet hole. Ooh. So I thought that was pretty cool. And this was another kind of salon room. These rooms were called the sample rooms. And you can kind of imagine why, because the girls would come out to parade. These windows would open, and they would open the windows and spot people on the street. Children were there. So before we go any further, I want to show you a couple more pictures. This, the one that some picture required this year. See if you can see it. You have to look out there how you get that kind of an image. I mean, that looks pretty. That looks pretty precise. So Ron had an experience. So I told you that Ron. Oh, what's this? Somebody brought some booze up. Ron had, I told you that Ron had some experiences. Sometimes he was working up here by himself, and he would have like hammers and things just wrenched out of his hand and thrown across the room. He had the experience in that room with the vortex. But then he moved up to the last room on this. Actually, the last double. It's kind of a double room now. I'll explain that a little bit better when we get there. But he moved up here, and he finally had an experience there in 1995, and that was the one that prompted him to reach out to paranormal investigators, and in particular get linked up with Amy Allen. So Amy and her crew came, and they filmed. He used all their equipment, filmed, did their research. She does a lot of research before they even go somewhere, and then she does research afterwards, and they look and they look at everything. But that particular time, that was in that was in 2010, 2011, because I think the episode came out in, well, it's series 3, episode 10. Yeah. So I don't know what year that was. I should get that straight. But they were here, and they'd been here all day, and they filmed during the night and used their sound equipment. And then they had to catch a flight out of Rapid, so they left at 4. And Ron knew better than to sleep in the building because he'd had this other experience that prompted him to reach out to investigators. But he was really tired, so he laid down on his bed right here. And he woke up a few hours later because he felt his arm which had been down by his side, picked up and flung across his
like your arm's in my way.
Well, he got up and he just bolted out immediately. And he contacted Amy, and he said he had that experience. And she said that she had detected an evil presence when they were here, and she called him the evil one, the evil man, or the evil one. Because what happened when Ron left, he went home, he felt very agitated, he paced around his home, because he had a house, or a home. She thinks he's gone, but maybe he's not gone, and
I don't know.
There's probably more than one angry person in this book. Because a lot of, the other tragic thing here is they found like little corpses in the basement. Because you can imagine there are probably women who got rid of their babies, or babies that were born and then didn't make it. These women drank all the time. They obviously probably didn't eat very well. They a lot of them were addicted to opium because Mr. Wu's is indicative of the fact that there was an active Chinatown and you could get all sorts of stuff down there too. So it was not a healthy lifestyle in any way, shape, or form. These women didn't live a long time. This room was a madam's room, because look at this furniture. It's really pretty furniture.
Is that Ellis? Is that what you just said her name was?
No, that is, and if you go to the Adams Museum, I don't know why we have that picture here, because she's just one of the prostitutes.
Okay.
That's, at least they have her labeled as that, and I don't recall if they said what her name was. So I don't know why we have that picture in here, but anyway, this would have been the madam's room and the madam's furniture. And it was, again, this part was a high-end establishment, so the madam would have been here all the time. She didn't want to tolerate any abuse of her girls. This was, if you wanted something different, then you went next door to the mansion. This room, though, is more indicative of what a typical girl's room would look like. And see, this is another one where you see all these layers of wallpaper. Yeah. And they just kept layering it one over the other. And so this would have been what, now remember, it did have the tub and the claw and the pool toilet. But in terms of heat, you would have had something like this. So it wouldn't have been fancy, but it would have had linoleum on the floor. That's off now. So they were nice rooms compared to what it could be and what you see in some of these shows that indicate what it could look like.
I'm assuming that's the door that just drops off.
Yes, it is. And I'm the one who put that up because, believe it or not, we can't. It only goes down 6 feet, and so we can't lock it. I said to the boss, "We gotta lock that thing." Somebody actually opened that door and called me over and said, "Hey, look at this." I said, "Would you please step back from the door?" I'm aware it's like that. So I put this on.
Well, he does not like his phone.
Yeah. I put this sign, the danger construction, keep out, because we can't chain it, because still, if something happened, like if this would start to burn,
That's next.
you basically can get out there. For short people, it'd be a long drop. For those of us who are taller, it would be less, but we could get you out of here. And,
Right.
Hey, I have faith. And you'd go from that building to the next one, whenever you can get out of here. So that's kind of the way it is. Well, let me tell you my best story and show you my best picture. And this we credit to Amy Allen too. Okay, it took place in the room that's the second from the end. When we go over there, when we go down the hall and into those rooms, you're going to see it's a double room. And I don't know, I didn't think to ask Ron, are you the one who like lowered the ceiling and made it into 2 rooms, or was it like that before? But that's where, when he moved from the 2nd floor up to the 3rd floor, that's where he lived. And he had, in the bathroom area is very large, and there's a closet when you combine the 2. And so he had a little kitchenette in there. Excuse me. You could imagine, even though he owned the restaurant downstairs, you wouldn't want to walk down there all the time.
Right.
And so he was living in that room, and he had an experience. He woke up at 3:33 in the morning. He knows because he said he was totally paralyzed. He could not move, but he could move his eyes, and he saw the clock, and he said 3:33. And that's important because he says that this apparition was in front of him for 5 minutes. Yeah, it is. I know. So, and he saw it for 5 minutes. So he was paralyzed. He looked at the foot of the bed, and he saw a woman, red hair, a green flowing gown, looked like she was pregnant.
Oh dear.
And she stood at the end of the bed like this and just stared at him. She was not frightened, nor was she frightening to him. She looked puzzled, kind of like,
What are you doing in my bed?
yeah. It's like, why are you here? Who are you and why are you here? Now, he'd been sleeping in that room for a while, so this was the first time he had had any experience like this. After 5 minutes, he was able to move. He got up that very night, moved out, and that's when he vowed, he's going to find another place to live, and he wasn't going to stay here at night again. That's why when he fell asleep on that bed, he knew better. Remember I said he knew he shouldn't? But that's the experience that really prompted him to start doing some history. He looked into the history of the town, because really there are a lot of haunted buildings in...
Oh yeah.
I don't like using the word haunted, but that's what they say, haunted Deadwood, right? I guess I just like to say, occupied by the spirit world or something. I mean, for some
The history is still here.
Yeah, haunted to me makes me think of Casper the Ghost or something,
Right.
From being a kid. So anyway, whatever words you want to use. There are a lot of buildings here. There's the cemetery. There's the Adams house. And so he started doing a lot of research, and that's when he reached out to the paranormal investigators to have them come. But he moved out and started doing his research. When Amy came, she captured a picture that looks like, I would love to deal with it. This is just another typical room. There's really not much to show you except that, remember I talked out here, that actually is original linoleum.
Oops, sorry. I apologize.
So you can see the new boss is doing something pretty spectacular. I think he's actually going to make this into a room and rent out for people. I think his original idea was put that stupid bed up in that open room, and then I think now his idea is that he might have a couple of rooms, and then people who are here and spend the night can wander around if they want.
That would be cool.
As you can see, it's got a new floor. This, I forgot, I told you earlier, I don't know if Ron did it or not, but it's interesting, even when he did, if whoever did it, they didn't make the windows smaller, they just lowered the ceiling. And then there's a little closet in here, so this is where he lived. His room, his bed was out like this, and that's the window. Because it says, when Rita Hall talks about it, she says, it's the fourth window in. Fourth window. So that's what she threw herself out that window.
Okay, my question though is if the ledge is still the same, how the heck did she turn around and run?
I have no idea, but that's the way, and maybe Rita Hall saw it wrong. Eyewitnesses don't normally do these things. Maybe what she did is she sat on it and threw herself out, and the way Rita describes it is she kneeled on it and pushed herself
It's the
out.
media, it's good circulation to take and make it sound
Yeah,
overly dramatic.
yeah. Because, I don't know.
Sensationalism.
But apparently she went out backwards, so that probably was her way of describing it.
Still would have to suck to die for 3 days though.
Yeah, pretty sad. But that was Margaret Broadwater, and this was her room. And now, none of this is, boy, forget
The
that.
ghost likes your battery.
Yeah, forget that. This is more recent. This poor building, apparently before before World War II, this was kind of like a flop house, and there were 47 men living up here.
Oh, wow.
Because they were like day laborers sort of thing, so I'm sure that didn't help the building much either, so. I don't know what David's gonna ultimately do with it. He's spending his money now. He redid the casino, and then below the tobacco bar that was there, he's making that into a bar casino too, with karaoke. So I think he's focusing on the things that generate more money at first, so that then he can have the money to renovate.
Makes sense.
But he bought this property, the two buildings together, November of 2021 for $1 million.
Wow.
So they're in pretty bad shape, but, and I think Ron, like I said, had all sorts of ideas of what to do too, but it just was kind of didn't materialize.
We did a walkthrough of Santa Claus down by Custer, and that's gonna be sad when they finally bring that thing down.
Yeah.
Because that thing's got a good 90 to 110 years worth of history built into it, so. Got some great video of it though. So.
Oh, good. But no, it is really sad what happens, you know. There was a time that when people just didn't value these old buildings and the history of it. I think
Time marches on.
They've done a pretty good job in Deadwood, but I don't know if a lot of these other buildings, when you know, except for the shop part, if upstairs they're just a mess again too. I don't know, have any of you been in the Bullock Hotel?
We stayed there.
Yeah.
We actually, it was funny because when we did the basement tour of the Bullock, they actually had a child and a mother image caught by somebody's camera. And everybody's like, where was the mom and kid in this group?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't
And
see
she had like this bright blue shirt, so you couldn't have missed her.
Huh.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking at the group like, no. Where did they go?
Interesting.
But see, a tour of a facility like this, it's amazing. I mean, granted, this has been rehashed and everything. But the only thing I'm surprised at with these windows, we've lived in a couple places from the early 1930s. And what's funny is that the windows actually would have a counterweight system.
Oh,
built
you're
into them.
right. You're right.
And that was one of the fun features we had in the one place on Kansas City that we lived in, is the servants' quarters at the time. And so you get to play with that a little bit. Of course, what's funny is that was 10/16, 10/18, 10.5, 10/18 and a half, 10/14, 10/3/16.
Yeah.
There's just too many servants around here.
So anyway, that's the tour as it stands at the Fairmont.
Wonderful.
Cool old building.
It is.
I sure hope he saves a lot of the features though, because I mean, like those front rooms, the history in there, it's deep, it's awesome.
Yeah, if you could just get that renovated to look like it would have looked like, that would be something.
Yeah, and then, you know.
And I would think, you know, these things are all on the historic register. I mean, you have to be able to get funding for these sorts of things.
Oh, yeah. You just gotta have the right contacts
Low
with
interest
DC
loans or something, yeah. Who knows?
Are we gonna take the back stairway down?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
The front stairway is like,
No, we're not gonna do that again.
watch the ghost behind you.
What? I don't
Now,
believe it.
Ron will say, I'm gonna give you out of
See if I can catch him.
Ron will say where they have saloon cams, that is not where Wild Bill was shot. He said the saloon was back here.
I'm sure it's moved a couple of times
Yeah.
over the years.
So who knows? Who knows?
Wild Bill.
Yeah. That's up here for the workers. It's like, okay, fine, couldn't get gotten something. Right, stick a lunches in or something. The other thing I think is interesting with the architecture here. You notice that what mattered is what it looked like outside, but I mean this is original. So that they would have had a window there and then this. You know, we don't do that sort of thing anymore.
No.
But back then you wanted it to look symmetrical on the outside, but you wanted it functional on the inside, so you did what you did. I just think that's a good. Same with this. You know,
these stairs. They certainly can't sneak upstairs. Yep. I'll grab that here in just a second.
Oh, the creaking in the world.
Lots of creaking. Oh, thank you, ma'am.
There you go, sure.
Appreciate that.
We go down this way then?
Yep.
Oh, okay. We're gonna go down
One
again.
more set of creaky stairs. Here we go. Now this is the stretch where they caught the image of Margaret.
Oh, okay.
You can see, remember out the two-tone wall here?
That was. This?
Yeah, she was walking down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with her arms down. See, this is all different. This, you know, when David bought this, he put that special room up here and this wall, you know, this would have kept going down. So we don't get the right picture of it. It would have gone all the way down to the first floor. Right now it's cut off.
Certainly can't sneak around here, can ya?
Yeah, right. You can't sneak it right.
Okay, come this way, babes.
Yeah, I got the door.
There we go. There we go, and then we can go back this way.
Yep. We're back to where we started. Are you guys staying a couple days or leaving tomorrow?
Actually, we're leaving tonight.
Oh, you're leaving tonight? You're
Yeah, we just came in.
You just came for the day?